man, I'm living aspiration. Cutting off heads, I'm straight with decapitation. Y'all boys.
Welcome back. Welcome to episode 2 to my YouTube channel. I'm glad you guys coming back in and staying tuned. Really happy about that, and I'm really happy to get the second episode started. I'm getting real comfortable with this. I'm starting to enjoy this, and just being able to express myself, and this is great. So with this second episode, what I wanted to do was just talk about why I decided to go plant-based, all the information that I accumulated during up until me making this decision, also what I've learned from just my experience, and just I'm always gathering knowledge. So throughout this journey of almost about a year now, being plant-based, and I just hope that if you thought about going plant-based and you didn't have enough information, that this can provide that for you. If you didn't want to, but now that you've heard it and I tell my journey and tell you some of the information that I've gathered, you're like, yeah, maybe I might be plant-based. Maybe these plant people, maybe they up to something. If you're taking that route, or if you just already there, shout out to all my plant-based people, man. Powered by plants. I keep saying that for the gym videos. So let's get started with it. So I never actually thought I was gonna go plant-based. My senior year of college, I remember having a talk with Jiggy, who's one of my best friends, by the way, and we just sitting there because at that time I felt like it was about going on to the plant-based trend. But a lot of my friends and a lot of people that I knew that were making the transition, all they were pretty much saying was, oh, it's bad to eat animals, you shouldn't be eating animals, you're bad for that, it's bad for the environment, and so I felt like it was more like of an attack, but there wasn't enough information. So at the time, I'm going through my research. I'm like, bro, how are we supposed to get gains if we're not eating meat? There's no protein when you go plant-based. Like, what are they talking about? And then I'm like, vitamin B12. That don't come from plants and vegetarians. That comes from eating meat. So I'm coming up with all these arguments at the time, and I couldn't see myself ever going plant-based because I didn't feel like there was enough valid information that made sense of why it would be better for me if I decided to go plant-based. So, if we fast forward that over to about a little bit over last year, almost last year and a half, I was watching, rereading some of my uncle's books that I haven't read yet, and some of them that I have, and then also watching his videos. He's a naturopathic doctor, and one thing that had resonated with me was when he started talking about certain foods that we eat. For example, if you really think about it, we drink another animal's milk, cow's milk, and it's meant to feed cows. All, you know what I'm saying? All of the nutrients in there, the hormones is meant for cows to raise a healthy, strong cow, not for a human being. He was talking about just naming all these different foods that we eat and how we haven't noticed. If we really take a step back, we would look and be like, all right, this is abnormal. This isn't, no other animal does something like this. So that sat with me, and then he ended up saying, especially for us black people, that what you need to do is go back to eating the way your ancestors ate. Their diets are meant for this black body, to research it. Right, so I started digging in, and I find out that even for us African Americans, even if you take the West African region, their diet as a whole is one of the healthiest diets in the world. It's top 5. If you can look it up yourself. And what I've noticed about not even just West Africa, but all the countries on that top list, a lot of them eat a lot of carbs. Their diet is over 70% of carbs. And we get confused because we look at carbs in such a bad light here in America, but that's all the processed carbs that we're talking about there. All the carbs that had their nutrients stripped away. But if we're talking about whole grains, carbs are great. We're talking about fiber. Beans are filled with carbs, but they have protein in them. So that's the trend that I was getting at. Most of their diet is plant-based, and if they do eat meat, it's in such small portions. It's not huge portions that we eat in America, where that's the main portion of our plate, and then the vegetables are a nice little side dish. They're additions, and that should be reversed around. So when I was looking through that, I started making slight changes. Started eating a lot more fruits, incorporating more vegetables, but I didn't fully make the leap there yet. I was still eating all my chicken, all my fish. Love salmon, man. Love salmon. So still eating all my fish. And then I had went to Ghana with my family. And when we got there and really was eating what, you know, the locals eat, I was eating a lot of jollof rice, plantains, black-eyed peas. That's the red right there. I ate fish, a lot of tilapia, but there was also a lot of fruits that I was eating too, because they had the fresh fruits, and even their watermelon was tasting different. And then I started noticing slight differences in the way they ate food, the way we did, where their sources were from. Just a slight difference was that their eggs were fresh. They weren't refrigerated the way we get them from the market here in America. They sit on the shelves, fresh from the farm to the shelves. And just noticing slight differences like that. And I was eating a lot at the time. I was eating like 5 meals a day. I was going for gains. I was trying to get to like 185, I was around 180, just real thick. But also what I noticed is that I was also real heavy, because when we were eating in Ghana, I always felt light. I was satisfied, I was full. And then I was using the bathroom more, which is a good thing. That means you're getting more fiber in the system. Your body's able to do detox and get the waste out. So when I left, I was like, man, I want to go back to feeling that light. I don't want to be heavy anymore. I don't want to be forcing myself to eat anymore, such large portions. I just want to eat till I'm hungry, and that's it. And I just want to feel light, and that was my main thing. So when I got back to the States, I made slight changes, right? I didn't eat as much anymore. And when I decided to, still eating meat at this time, so when I decided to eat chicken, when I decided to eat eggs, I was getting them from the farm. I forgot where the town is around here, but I was going to the farm and making sure I get my eggs and my chicken, and going about it that way. But I was already incorporating more vegetables. So it was slight transitions where I'm starting to incorporate more and more and more. And then the biggest changes when I read Disease Delusion, right? And then I worked with my aunt on the holistic diagnosis book that my uncle has. And when I read Disease Delusion and the holistic diagnosis, it was over after that. I feel like now I finally got to the necessary information to make me understand why this was better for me and my body. And at that point, it was over. So even when I was reading through the Disease Delusion, and it talks about multiple different things, but what I liked about it was it talked about the inside of your body, the systems that your body has, and why plants, the phytonutrients in plants are essential to it. Things like detoxing that we were talking about. Your gut, the bacteria in your gut, and how they eat fiber. So in order to have good gut health, you need to have that fiber in there. That's what feeds the bacteria, the good bacteria. Cellular communication, how your cells communicate with each other, and the phytonutrients that's necessary for that. DNA repair. You know, just your immune system, your body being able to fight off all those invading cells. Your body needs all these nutrients to help it run properly, efficiently, optimally. And it lists out it lists out how each nutrient and what type of foods help out with each system. And that was in the Disease Delusion. And then also reading about, I'm gonna mention holistic diagnosis in a minute, but how not to die. And in there it specifies each disease and what's the cause of each disease, and how you can prevent that, how you can fight that. Certain foods to stay away from if you suffer from heart disease, or your family suffers from heart disease, if you suffer from kidney disease, prostate cancer. Prostate cancer is a big thing in my family. So making sure that I eat certain foods. It mentioned flaxseed is a big thing, and it also mentioned to avoid certain foods. We have red meat, milk, chicken. It was all these foods to avoid getting, for me specifically, prostate cancer. And I'm like, okay, I want to increase my chances of preventing myself from getting prostate cancer, since it's a thing inside my family. So I was like, okay, let's cut out all these foods, because now it's not just about, now it's about what's better for me moving forward. It's about longevity. I want longevity. I want to be able to live to about 100, and I want to be healthy. I want to be able to still go for a run, right? Around 70, 80. I had this lady that was 90 something in my gym, and she's still working out. That's how I want to be, and I want to make sure that I'm healthy, that I'm not confined to a wheelchair or a cane. You know, I want to make sure that I get around. So I'm like, okay, these are certain changes that I have to make. And then learning about the holistic, about how long it takes for foods to digest in our body, what happens when we're having certain cravings. It's about how your body's affected on a holistic level, right? And then how can these foods play a part in it and make you optimal? That's when I had learned that I was eating way too much protein. Way too much. I know there's a certain amount of protein that we need in our bodies. Obviously, some of us need a little bit more. Depends on the situation, depends on the activity. But I was eating way too much protein. Protein. It was straight gains. That's what I thought was needed for gains. And that's what a lot of us bodybuilders or people that are into working out, that's what we hear from everybody. And that's what we start to think, that it's just about protein. But even for muscle recovery, it's not just protein that your body needs. Your body needs so much more nutrients than just protein in order to build muscle. And then when you have this excess protein, I think the daily amount that a male should have, don't quote me, it's not the exact number, but it's in the range, is about 56 grams of protein. And I think women is about 32 or so, somewhere in that range, right? I can't even, bro, I was eating like 200 grams of protein. Like, way too much. And then also, a lot of high protein diets for me are a cause for prostate cancer. So I'm like, yo, I have to chill. This is not gonna work. So when I had all of this information, and I topped that off with what I learned about the environment as well, and just learning about on a moral level for me, right? Just the way we raise animals just to be slaughtered, to me, just wasn't resonating with me anymore. Just how we're destroying habitats, how we're putting thousands of species into extinction. You know, that varies. It's habitat destruction, but it's also the way we're eating. Even with the marine ecosystem, we're using these large nets, and we're just going underneath and sweeping up all of these different types of marine animals, just sweeping them up. And we're destroying that ecosystem like that. You know, we're trying to feed billions of people. And it's not like, it's not the same as when we're eating plants, right? There's ways we can, there's so much plants that we can be able to eat and not destroy. But when we're talking about animals, it's harder for them. There's a pyramid of energy, and I'm showing it up real quick, but as you go higher up, plants are right here. They have the most energy. But as we go higher up, because there's not as much resources for animals that eat meat, carnivores, there's not as much than if we, as a herbivore, there's an abundance of plants. But as far as other animals to eat, there's a limited amount. So when we're killing that off, it's harder for them to reproduce than if you're eating a plant. It's just so much harder. And if we're staying on the energy pyramid, what I learned too is that there's a higher vibration here, this is plants, and then as you go up, the amount gets smaller. So we're also, when you're eating plants, and I believe in this totally, and you can look it up because everything has energy in it, you can measure the energy of, you know, let's say different plants that we eat, different vegetables, different fruits, and they're high vibrational foods. There's a lot of energy in them. This is they get their energy straight from the sun, right? So they're the immediate connection, and then we're eating them, the plants. So it's a high vibration. Now, if you're removed, let's say there's some people that eat, you know, if you're eating, for example, let's just say salmon, right? Salmon eats other fish as well too, and then those fish feed off all the algae. And that's where the sunlight. So right? You're further removed, so there's not as much energy, high vibrations. And if we're eating dead animals, there's no vibration. There's low vibrational foods, and when we're consuming that, we're taking that in, and that's what you eventually become. You are what you eat. You eat high vibrations, you eat high energy, you become a high vibrational and high energy person. If you're eating low vibrational foods and low energy foods, then essentially you become a low vibrational person, and I believe that. So that's part of it as well. But and then as I made this transition, after I got all this information, I was like, okay, bet, I'm done here, right? A lot of people, when they ask me, when you made the transition, how do you get enough protein? What I didn't realize is that there's so much protein in the foods, in plant foods, that we don't even notice. Everybody knows this one. There's already beans. Pound for pound have more protein than meat does. If we're talking lentils, I didn't know there was protein in things such as avocados, broccoli. I didn't know that. Mushrooms. There's all these different proteins that I didn't know about. Edamame. Some people don't like it, but tofu, soy, protein in there. Rice has protein, especially when we're talking about whole grain brown rice, not the white rice. So there's all these different seeds, chia seeds, flax seeds, hemp seeds. 3 tablespoons of hemp seeds have 11 grams of protein. When I usually tell some of my friends that are people that ask me, they're like, oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, so there's protein all around us. And then your body needs way more than protein, like I mentioned earlier. You need a lot of Americans don't even reach the daily amount of fiber to have in the body. And that's to make sure we're not constipated, that our body's always getting rid of waste. And like I said, to feed that gut health. There's fats, peanuts, there's nuts out there that you can do. I mentioned the seeds already as well. Avocados. There's coconuts. So there's way to get fats as well too. And then, like I said, those phytonutrients that are essential for our bodies to be at optimal health. Another thing that Disease Delusion had mentioned was that the recommended daily amount that you'll see is just to prevent deficiencies. Right? That's the bare bones, just to make sure you're not deficient. But it's not for optimal health. So when I learned all the nutrients and the amounts that I need to be optimal, I was like, dang, I don't even have time to eat meat, because every meal I eat is essential for me, and I need to make sure that it has all the nutrients that my body needs to be in top form. So with that, that's when I was like, okay, I'm good. And it's been amazing, honestly. You feel more alert, you have more energy. In the gym, my muscle recovery time is higher. I know a lot of athletes have mentioned that in Game Changers, and for me, I can verify that. I've been doing this for about a year. Your muscle recovery game is quick. I can get back in the gym like this. I go from sore one day to just, all right, I'm good to go. And then when I'm in the gym, my performance is on another level. Though I leaned up, I got rid of all the excess fat. I didn't get rid of any of the muscle, right? I'm not bulky. I'm lean, but I'm strong now. I'm actually stronger than I was before when I was eating meat. So much stronger. I can push so much more weight than I used to. And then when I'm in the gym, my stamina is on a different level as well too, right? So I'm just performing at a higher level as well. And then I just felt more connected with my environment as well. Just paying attention to more, being all natural, making sure the products that I put on my body are natural, making sure that the products that I use throughout my house are natural, because a lot of these things are actually toxic that we didn't know about. But for me, when I started eating plants, being plant-based, it made me more aware. It made me want to be more natural throughout my life. And so you pay attention to things you may not have paid attention to before that are toxic or non-beneficial to the body and to our environment as well, that you didn't pay attention to before. And there's so much information out there, so much information. And I've been enjoying it, and I don't see myself ever going back unless I really needed to. Let's say there was, all of a sudden all the plants were wiped out and all that was left was meat and I had to eat it, I'd eat it. But I don't see myself. I can't talk for my future self. But right now I don't see myself ever going back to meat, and I actually enjoy it a lot. I love vegetables and fruits on another level that I didn't fully appreciate them beforehand. Like, I love them now. And I just enjoy being light, tight, and know that I'm healthy. I'll mention in a later video how I mentioned all these different natural products used, household products as well. I have a water filter. I don't use plastic bottles anymore. Just little things like that I'm gonna mention, and vitamins, certain vitamins that I recommend. I'm gonna mention those in later videos, but the biggest change is being optimal. And I usually suffer from allergies, and in the past year I haven't once suffered. Usually I'm really stuffy. I'm always just sniffing around, and then just really congested year round typically. But past year, clean, clean, man. And so what I would say is that for a lot of us, and for me, was I didn't know I was gonna be here, but when you get all the information, and there's tons of information I could give out. Like I said, I want to do in different pieces, but if you have questions, ask me. I'm willing to help you out. But once I got all this information, it was just like, okay, this is what's best for my body, right? A lot of times we think we know what's best for our bodies, but our bodies know, it functions on its own. The cells in our body are doing things right now, and you're not even talking to it. Your body knows what to do. All you have to do is feed it. Just feed your body what it needs. Make sure you're giving it the energy that it needs, the foods that it needs, and it will run perfectly fine without you. Our bodies are amazing, and all it needs us to do, like I said, is just eat the foods that it needs to perform optimally. And for me, it's all about optimizing my health. I want to be optimal, and plant-based is the best way to be that. Couple that with exercising and meditations and things like that, mind, body, spirit. But if we're talking about strictly the diet here, yeah, plant-based is easily the way to be most optimal. And I definitely recommend that to everybody. So, stay tuned. I'm gonna do all the different videos. I'm enjoying. This is what I get passionate about, man. I even opened a juice bar just because I love this stuff. So I'm willing to share as much information as I can. I'm excited that, for those of you, like I mentioned, who weren't ever thinking about going plant-based, but now all of a sudden like, okay, all right, might be interested. Or if you were on the fence and you just needed that extra push, I hope that this information and the information that I'm gonna keep putting out helps you take that leap of faith. Because like I said, once you do it, and once you make sure that you're eating all the foods that you need to eat when you're plant-based, you're gonna feel the biggest difference, I promise you. And your body's gonna thank you for it. You're gonna feel amazing. You're gonna wake up differently. It's just a different feeling. And I'm excited for this, so stay tuned. I appreciate y'all tuning in, and until next time, I'm out.
Pray when it's time to ride, I never crash like Susie. Lyrics make you woozy, inspired by Juicy. The way to branch out is to kill all of these loose